So, if you are listening to this today, what is it? Today's Sunday, July 23rd. If you're listening to this today, you've been subscribed or, you listen to these types of videos. Not that you have to, but I would, what else are you doing that you already haven't done before? So I would recommend to, do some type of experimentation. I honestly, for anyone that's an antinatalist, Efilism, really, you should be, journaling, doing something, not just, getting these thoughts from other people's thoughts. Definitely make sure you're able to say these things in your own way and not get confined with, someone else's mind like mine. So I just say this all to say that look to connect to your family, look to connect to your friends, any past friends. That's what I'm doing even right now in this very moment. So some of them may be listening to this today or sometime in the future. And just it starts with a conversation, seeing where they're at and going from there. Because with these thoughts, it goes back to concepts like empathy. It's the heart, right? It's the healing. It's the true care, right? You're looking to care about not just yourself, but for them, which is why you're wanting to have such a conversation. It's nothing personal. It's nothing this, that, and the fourth. If you always say, right, if you're mature, you're honest, you're fair about the situation that's being described, at the very least, you would have a conversation about it with people that you say you love. So that's what I'm doing. And again, in terms of what I'm saying for an experimentation, you can look to do as well. Definitely, you can share these videos. I don't know how often that happens, but create your own, we don't even have to post it. Just post it in terms of, messaging it and sharing it with people that you, have care for. I've, done a lot personally of just thinking about everything around this world. And in terms of something that I would care for, I would look to try to place it in a certain, I don't want to say art, but in a certain style where it can resonate and reason with, many different types of people. And so with your own proximity, with the scope of the people that are within your own life and the influence you have over them, it would be important for you to, we all have to incorporate that to our own, for those that are around us. So again, just sending, whether you want to share any of my content or creating your own, you don't have to share it online or that forth, but again, with people that you love, I just find that is crazy. Even something not as, if you want to call this deep, go ahead, because it clearly is compared to most people and what they say here. But something as simple as just like I mentioned it before with the political video, the politics, people don't even talk about anything. The lack of substance with human thought is so sad. So sad. So it's just raising the bar, raising people's minds and level of an awareness to things that are, more greater than whatever the fuck people are currently doing right now here. So the conversation with, again, those that you've had, whether it's past friends, this, that, and the fourth, again, I'm doing this my own self. This is why I would hold it to the same standard for anyone that wants to hold this affiliation of being, some type of antinatalist, Efilism. Well, you should definitely be trying to connect with those that are around you currently in your proximity. With simple things like how we like to say with voting, right? Oh, well, it's hard on the national level, right? So that's similar with antinatalism, similar like with Efilism, right? Trying to do something more global scale, right? Well, at the end of the day, we can look to at least, make a vote for ourselves, right? And people would rather in the context, right, in the political context, maybe not vote or maybe do whatever the fuck. We have our own reasons, but you have a choice in a certain sense, clearly, right? And so for myself, for people that I've come around and touched and been a part of and enjoyed experiences with, I am definitely intensifying this now because it doesn't have to be me. It's just it's just the truth, right? Whoever the fuck you may have come across in this, that, and the fourth, you should definitely feel equipped. If you listen to me or anyone, right, in this type of realm, you feel equipped to talk to anybody about anything and know that you have, I don't want to sound pretentious, but it's just the facts. You have the higher ground because the higher ground you're, resonating with, that you're aligning with is the truth of the matter. And most people are falling down to the bullshit. And that's just, the fact of the matter. And so, again, with the word of empathy, with human thought, a lot of times with any of these things people like to say they're making conversation about, which is very a lack of substance. Apparently there was some type of recent thing with an Adam 22 and whatever sex allegations stuff, but that's what people are talking about right now compared to something like this. So I'm just, the clear level of just oblivion people have to actual, sane and spiritual conversations. So, we are our own problems. But again, it's just raising that bar so that at least you're trying to make people, get the fucking hint. I don't know if people know the elephant in the room or not. And so we got to call the bullshit out for what it is in this, bread and circus realm that we see ourselves in this Dookie boy realm from my boy Chris. So yeah, definitely, see what you can do. If you are very specific within my same type of archetype, being a black male, relatively young, and, you may have been brought up with things like Christianity. There is a rapper that I definitely have a lot of respect for, and sometimes you have to relate it back to that type of music and stuff and some type of art form within that type of conventional sense, with, those types of melodies, because all of this is just a certain melody, it's a certain rhythm, it's a certain flow with, and so, concepts like, again, the universe, right? Well, this is a certain song, and parts of the song is unfortunately, pretty sad and melancholy, with that melody and unfortunate, but it needs to be heard, right? Some things need to be heard. Some things need to be called out. Some things for the bullshit needs to be pointed out. You can't just smell the bullshit and not point it out. You got to call things for what it is, call the spade a spade. And so I am as comfortable as possible to ever, I don't know why I would ever want to talk about anything else but this to some effect with those that I say I love and appreciate in my existence. So in terms of the ripple effect of what this can look to do, we can't really even imagine that. So it's not, this world, quote unquote, can be better. It's very simple to see that reality, possibility of how, yes, this world could be, yes, but it takes us, right? So it's just this power dynamics game, but at the very least, right, at least talk about some shit more than just fucking, geez Louise. So that's all I'm trying to kind of promote, I guess. So I guess I do promote something, even though if you looked at the description, but it's of the least. I'm telling people to essentially do nothing, right, with antinatalism, right? For your actual vote, it is you technically not voting, right? It's you're not, submitting back in and, with the sacrifice and, placing another part of you to have to be in this, again, with the circus and having to go up and down with the toil and all this shit. It's just the truth, and everybody can look and see it for what it is. The point is, what are you going to do? Are you going to act accordingly, or are you going to, go along with nature? And listen, if you understand the points that are being said in videos like this with people like me, with what we have to say, if you can't see that elephant in the room for what this, I don't want to necessarily put words in you, but you should get a hint. And again, with certain actions, with power comes responsibility. So I'm just saying you got to be careful with the power you have. So again, empathy is very important. Empathy is very important. If you truthfully look to consider all the livelihoods that are currently being alive here, you wouldn't do certain things that most people are doing, just to be frank. So again, with the concepts like empathy, I'm going to be posting a couple videos. With the Huey Freeman Boondocks video, I talked about, a character like Uncle Ruckus, and many times, like people like to say with that show, The Boondocks, Uncle Ruckus, oh, he's, one of the funniest characters on the show, whether it's him or Riley. But with that Uncle Ruckus archetype and what that, persona ego embodies, people say, well, it's funny, right? Well, like with comedy, there's a lot of truth in it, right? Even though it may be mixed with a lot of bullshit and lies. And of course, we know that with Uncle Ruckus, there's still a certain truth to it that we can appreciate. Hence, we laugh, right? But with a lot of times with laughing, there's a lot of trauma and like backup emotion and stuff. So it's like when you see people laughing, there's a lot of underground things that are not necessarily being pinpointed with such underlining such of things with their subconscious. But point is, we should have empathy for anyone, right? And so looking at somebody like an Uncle Ruckus, this is all just, again, with shout out to my boy Matt from the prior video that commented. This is mental alchemy. This is a great way to put it for the terminology. This is mental alchemy because, again, if you can understand the points that are being said, I just don't know how you don't then, again, change certain things if you're not, so I know how I felt when I came across this information. I guess you can, but it's nothing necessarily new. You're just a certain. So, but hopefully, you get where I'm going at. You just the concepts. Once you go black, you can't go back. Well, once you learn and see some things for what it is, then you shouldn't then have to you shouldn't act the same way. Again, act accordingly. You got to behave now of a certain order. So I just don't see that, and so now I'm compelled to make these videos and whatnot. But again, back to empathy. That's the healing component. I'm going to look to post a video, another great teacher, SQS, going into the concept of the Tao and the purification of the heart. This is all, again, it goes back to, this is love, this is care. So self-care, I'll post another video, a concept of, the not self, the no self. Well, technically you're no self here. You're a being that's going to come and go. So you like to say yourself, you like to take care of yourself. Well, there's really no you. You're going to be bound to this birth and death. So in the span of infinity, was there really a you in an obvious sense? No. So there's a part of you that's here. That's nothing of no eternal life. So that's the you that you're saying you like to have self-care about, which is a silly and just buffoonery for what people like to say. So for people that would care, again, with some of the links that I'm going to be putting, I hope everyone's having a solid day. And what was I else wanting to say? Again, empathy. I think I made a concept with the video, the meaning of life and, the purpose of life. And I mentioned a point of the Karen, the Karen archetype, so that's an interesting thing, and I'll look to end on this potentially if I don't remember if anything else I wanted to mention. But with the Karen archetype, you have essentially somebody, right, that has a super concern that they want to cause a racket about and make everyone's day just shitty now because they're just making all this noise and just racket. So we get those, memes and videos, TikToks of, those Karen moments and seeing those people. Well, again, trying to be empathetic, right, and honest, mature, and fair, and balanced, and just honorable in a sense. So what I'm saying is, well, there's a certain archetype element to that Karen that I can appreciate. Being, that certain loud rowdiness, just trying to get people to understand a certain point. Because there's certain things that, you have to say. You have to call out certain, forms of bullshits. I don't know about you guys, but I can look to make a small comment about my own personal life. I hate to say this element, but Black women, they do have a connotation stereotypically to be, perceived as very loud and aggressive, this, that, and the fourth. So, looking within the point of view as a Black boy, growing up, of course, with my family, and then being in certain public situations with, Black women and, being anyone, right? Whoever and they have a point for maybe why they want to, make an outburst or a scene, cause and instigation. But for me, right, because I'm in it too, it's kind of awkward. It's unsettling. It's not comfortable, right? So with that Karen archetype, right, can I speak to the manager? It's hey, if we all have our complaints, right? And those complaints need to be confronted, right? And it should start a conversation. So, hey, I have respect for that energy, right? It's just obviously a lot of times it can just get, really over the top, right? But it's a similar thing, like the reverse of that with, the concept of, duality. So somebody that's, such rowdy and loud and just obnoxious, right, with that Karen element. The reverse of that is silence, right? So you think of people like Yoda, people that, essentially people like to say with wise, well, wisdom is of, small words, but it's profound. So all it goes back to is calling the bullshit for what it is. If someone's speaking, then they should be speaking in truth, right? So truth is very simple and profound. So again, behind any lie is the truth. So in essence, a lot of people, we're all saying a part of the truth, but how close to that truth can you connect and align, yourself to that treason truth? So with that Karen element, again, with empathy, for those that, again, with the whole, can I speak to the manager, where I understand that type of element, because we should all, right, whether who the fuck is in control of all of this, we have questions, right? Those, the citizens of whatever fucking state you're in. You should have questions for those that rule over you, because this all is insanity that we are currently composed in. So for that specific element with Karen, again, talk about empathy. You should look to really appreciate and understand where people are coming from. And so I look to exercise that mentality and get away from how most people think and stuff, because most people are clearly blind. People don't have a mind. Their mind is given to them. So I would rather not necessarily just associate myself to, the status quo, whatever type of thought that most people would like to resonate with, because sometimes that resonation is of no reason. So whatever thing you like to say, I resonate with, well, it should have a reason, right? So when you do more of that, then you get away from most people's heads. You're letting go, detaching from this, material plane. And so I might look to end it on there. And I would be interested in your guys' thoughts. I'll post some videos on, again, similar things relating to this. And again, with the music element, if you are somebody within the same, I guess you can say, I don't want to say demographic, but a certain, egoic human form, again, if you're black or even not, but you listen to stuff like hip hop, rap, and in a sense, this is a part of Christian rap. So people that don't like it, again, you can tune off it, you don't. But a lot of things in life is very, again, with words like esoteric, symbolism. There's a lot of connections that you can do with a lot of things. So I just think if you know of something and then you listen to things like music, well, it's kind of like just, you should see the core elements and things, and you should be like, wow, that's, artists don't just, again, the good artists, they don't just say certain words or make certain styles in certain ways. No, everything is for a reason. So if you really look at the things, if you care to look at some of the tracks, I'll look to show it in the description. If you look at it more, it's some deep shit. I just don't know why the fuck this isn't. I mean, what else is there to do? We're doing the same shit, so you might as well try to break some of the boundary. I mean, all the shit that I feel like I'm talking about is so fucking simple, and so I just feel like it's very important to at least make sure those around you know. And I've kept a lot of this very to myself because, I mean, if anything, I was just trying to see, well, where is everyone else's heads at? And most people don't even care to converse. And I was within that boundary, and I still am, in a certain sense, will always be. But I definitely am trying to push that needle and see where more, people's head are at in terms of, people that I appreciate in my own personal life. And so I'm just trying to relay such a objective to, my fellow antinatalists and or Efilism. So if you feel compelled, then you can look to do the same.